Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So today we want to talk about Windows LXD Management. In my LXD step-by-step and LXD Configured Now What tutorials, I cover the basics of configuring and using a LXD server. In LXD Remote Management, I also address managing LXD servers remotely. Although you can't run a LXD server directly on Windows, we can install a LXD client program to manage LXD from Windows. And for those of you who are Windows users, you're going to find this very handy. So this allows creating and managing LXD containers and LXD virtual machines from Windows. And previously, if you're a Windows user, you probably just SSH'd over to your LXD server and ran from there. Here we are on my Windows 11 desktop, and you want to come down and right click on that start, move up to where it says Terminal Admin, and then go ahead and say yes to provide admin privilege, and it should bring up a PowerShell screen. At this point in time, we want to do a get execution policy, and you can see here that it is returned that the execution policy is restricted. The packages that we want to install are available through the Scotti Package Manager, and the command to install Scotti Package Manager involves setting our execution policy to bypass and running these commands here, which will be in the show notes. So I go ahead and hit enter, and it sets that policy to bypass. It goes out and installs the Scotti Package Manager. In order to use our Scotti Package Manager for the first time, we're going to want to exit this PowerShell and then go ahead and right click on the start button once again and launch Terminal Admin. Say yes, and bring up the admin version of the PowerShell. Now we're going to run the Scotti installer to install the two pieces that we need. One is the LXD command line client, not a server, but the command line client, and the other is the Virt viewer, which is used for virtual machines. So I do a choc install LXD Virt-viewer and also LXD. Now that our LXD client tools are installed, I have another tutorial that I made some time back entitled LXD Custom Images Revisited, and a lot of the commands that we're going to use in this particular video will make use of that. You'll also recall that in the LXD step-by-step video, when we did the LXD init command, there were a couple of questions that were asked, and one of them was, do you want your LXD server to be available over the network? And that was for remote management. We answered yes to that question, and now with our Windows client, we'll be able to leverage that capability to be able to access our remote LXD servers. To make our remote management more secure, rather than providing a password in order to be able to set up our trust relationship, I have popped up a SSH terminal over to the Linux node that is my LXD server. And what I'm going to do here is a LXD config trust add on the LXD server. It's first going to ask us for a client name. I'm going to give it the client name Windows, and then it comes back and gives me a certificate add token. I'm going to copy the contents of that certificate add token, and then I'm going to come back here to my terminal in Windows, and then I'm going to execute the command to go ahead and add that remote server. So in this case, it's LXD remote add Mondo, and then it gives the address of 172.16.1.225, which is the IP address of that particular machine. I hit enter. It asks me if I want to accept the certificate, and the answer to that is yes. Now we're going to go ahead and paste that certificate value in that we got from our LXD server with a Control V and hit enter. And it comes back and says, client certificate is now trusted by server Mondo. If we execute the LXD remote list command again, now that we've added that trust, you can see that Mondo is listed as one of the remote servers that we can manage. By default, we're managing the local server, but as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any ability to create containers on the local server. So if I do a LXD list, of course, there won't be any containers here because this isn't a server. This is simply a client. Now, what I can do is I can issue the command LXD remote switch Mondo, which is a command that we haven't talked about before. And what that does is it changes our management context over to our authorized remote LXD server that we entered by the name of Mondo. Now if I do LXD commands such as LXD list, you can see here that I have 2 LXD VMs on that remote server. So let's test out this management by doing a LXD launch Ubuntu :2204. We're going to name the name of our LXD container container-1, and I'll set boot.autostart equals to true, which means that if the LXD server reboots, that this container will automatically start. It's now going out on Mondo, and it is creating the container called container1, and it has gone ahead and started it. If we go and do a LXD list, you can see that we have a container-1 that is running, and it has an internal NAT address of 10.45.70.246. And again, if you've watched my videos, LXD step by step and LXD configured now what, you'll discover that there are ways that we can present that container out onto our main LAN or another VLAN on your network. So now let's see what happens if we start a LXD virtual machine with the command LXD launch images :Ubuntu /22.04/desktop, which is the desktop variant of Ubuntu 2204 client, and it will start a VM container that is a LXD VM called VM-1. I have the switch --VM to let it know it's a VM, and -C limits.cpu equals 4, where it can have up to 4 CPU cores on my LXD server, and -C limits.memory equals 4 gigabytes, which caps the memory at 4 gigabytes. And again, boot.autostart equals to true. So that goes off and creates that LXD VM and goes ahead and starts it. In addition to installing the LXD client, one of the other things that we did with Scotti was we installed the Vert viewer. And now if we do a LXD console VM-1 --type equals VGA, it will go ahead and launch the Vert viewer and show us our virtual machine. And there we go. Here's our virtual machine that has been launched. It's up and running. And so what we have here is a LXD virtual machine. So in summary, if you are new to LXD, be sure to watch the LXD step-by-step and LXD configured now what tutorials. If you want a powerful GUI for your LXD, watch my tutorial entitled LXDware LXD Dashboard. And I have over 75 tutorials on various features and functions of LXD. LXD containers and LXD virtual machines are a powerful and efficient way to create dedicated virtual instances. and the Scotti-BYTE channel is devoted to learning and understanding self-hosted design and implementation. Anyway, that's it for today. Please subscribe and like to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.